Hello. Well, I just wanted to come back on here really quickly and share a writing that I made years and years and years and years ago. Not that long ago. It's been about 5, 6 years ish. Anyway, um, I don't really have a way of illustrating. I don't have the time to illustrate it how I want to, so I'll just read it as I share it. Um, In my dreams, as in most dreams, many weird things occur which allow them to be easily ignored. If there is no reference in the waking, in the physical, obvious, shallow world, then one simply forgets about it. Hell, at this point, I suspect most people don't remember their dreams at all. If there is no reference in the waking world and there isn't much raw dream data to work with in the first place, it can be very difficult to remember. The element that allows us to forget, as indeed everything originated in choice, however, isn't the lack of reference, but the lack of importance we give the sporadic, hazy data. We don't have a universal theory to explain them, so many just consider it gobbledygook. Perhaps we don't need anything universal or official to explain them. Maybe we just need to be our own scientist instead of rely on external ones. One aspect of the dream world I would experience is the ability to apparently transport myself into anything with a screen. Whether that was a movie or video game, pictures too, but I noticed if I stared at the screen long enough, suddenly I would appear as one of the characters in the story, in their own world. I didn't think anything of it at first, but then when I noticed the pattern, suddenly it became easier to remember, like flying in my dreams. This craft of jumping into the alternative universe and changing the entire trajectory of my dream started to be learned by my dream self. I instinctively knew whenever I saw a screen, hey, I have this cool option. However, I had no other reference to further explain what was going on. That is until rather recently. We think waking world is the real world, and the dream world is not real, but perhaps they are both real. If we go this far, the analytical mind would step in and convince us that the physical world is more real. But perhaps this too isn't quite right. Indeed, the opposite is true. The dream world is actually more fundamental. It is the physical or the so-called waking world that is less real. The analytical mind convinces us the opposite because the physical world is indeed very seemingly obvious, and we simply equate appearance with truth. But as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. All people in fact dream, and all people have a memory of these activities, but depending on where you are consciously, you may only have enough consciousness to make sense of the most shallow world. When you grow your consciousness, you will be able to understand everything. Indeed, the most basic, simplest things to me are dazzling examples of profound truths. What explains the ability to jump into screens? Well, I've learned that indeed we are living in the Matrix. The physical world, despite appearances, is almost totally and utterly fake. It is utterly artificial. That doesn't mean you can't find truth here, but that means the truth isn't the obvious truth. You have to work to find it. Physical truth remains physical truth contains nuanced spiritual truth. Similarly, spiritual truth contains nuanced physical truth. The truth isn't obvious because the reality is that there are different worlds out there, not just the one. There are levels to truth. The truth is experienced in gradation. One spiritual truth I learned is that everything you put your attention to, you enhance. In the ultimate sense, if God looked at you, you'd explode because you wouldn't be able to contain that level of growth. The light would simply be too intense. Therefore, there is a gradation of light, of truth, so that at the most shallow level, beings can operate and still grow by later climbing towards a higher level, a more intense light. The ability to jump into screens therefore explains what? It explains the opposite. Instead of climbing to the higher level, it represents going down. In movies and video games, if enough attention is put into them, we can get lost in them. We can literally feel as though we are this or that character in the narrative, and that the world depicted in the story is real or real enough to be taken seriously. It is that very phenomenon that the screen jumping signifies in dreams, in my experience, in my dreams. What does that mean for the waking state? It means that the waking state is just the opposite. People really think that they are their bodies. They really think their narrative is to be taken seriously. People think this element of their story needs to be changed to this or that at all costs. They want control over the narrative, but they want that level of control with a similar level of attachment or clinging. We simply become too invested. Ironically, you can only start to control your narrative once you realize its futility. Your life in the physical world is no different than any other in any novel, movie, or video game. It is just another story among the trillions. Obviously, the number is actually much higher than trillions. It's an untold, like it's a number that we can't conceive. In these human stories, it doesn't matter who was the prettiest, it doesn't matter who was hurt or who deserved punishment, etc. The only thing that matters is the themes hidden in between the scenes of the story. These themes are the lessons, the bits of life and light found in the narrative of this thing called life. These are valuable. Everything else is nothingness. If you are wise and on the spiritual path long enough, you can grow to a level where your life becomes just that, another story of another character. You no longer invest in the character's physical appearance, in the character's physical wealth, in the character's social capital, and the character's physical pleasure. None of that matters anymore. You only invest in moving the story forward long enough to find another moment of truth, spiritual truth, truth that goes beyond the current story, a story that transcends. Can you think of this life as a mere story from a book? Or are you so immersed that you believe it to be all there is? Are you so immersed that the scenes in the story matter more to you than its themes? When you grow spiritually, you are able to, instead of being totally immersed, take your consciousness back from the story that stole it. You can then, instead of thinking you are this character, start to just see the story unfold. You detach yourself. You are no longer a part of the story. The story exists, it is there. You just aren't found in it anymore. This technique of detachment is the only way to reverse the descent into unconsciousness, the fall from a higher level of reality to the lower. Remember, it is only the actor that has to take their role seriously. Will you be the actor or the director, the author, and the producer? Take back your life by seeing what you really are. So yeah, that's what I wrote. And from my experience, as I said in my dreams, I would always approach this screen or this picture, and I would stare at it and stare in the dream. And the longer I stared, the more I would just become absorbed. And and the memory I have of this phenomenon, again, that operates in the dream world, whatever you want to call that, it's a peculiar memory because it's like alive. It's absolutely stuck in my mind. The image of it is completely stuck, and it's like, I feel like this is important. I feel like this what's going on is important, and then I just produced that because it just, I don't know, it just came out of me. And then of course later on, as I learn more about the spiritual sciences, I'm actually able to figure out more details, more truths, as it relates to this phenomena, this, as we call it, for spiritual people, truth-seeking people, you're either in the waking or the resting state, or the unconscious state, or the waking state. So you're either going down or you're going up. And the cycle of life is both. You go down and then you go up. You go to sleep, then you wake up. You become unconscious, and then you become conscious. And there are levels. There are levels both ways, but that's, I guess, the most important thing. That there are levels in that you can jump from one to the other. Um, yeah. So, yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I'm going to talk more about this phenomenon, spiritual truths that are related to this later on, but I just wanted to open with this to sort of introduce what I'm going to be talking about later more. All right, see.